Welcome back, my thinkers. Today, we'll explore how much the universe really cares about us. Let's talk about the burden of proof and its cosmological relevance. The burden of proof is perhaps the greatest intellectual inventions of man. It is the bedrock of our legal system and offers a practical solution to resolve human conflicts. The burden of proof is quite simple. Any man who makes a claim is supposed to provide evidence to support that claim. Now, because it works so well on a human scale, we have somehow developed the idea that the universe owes us an explanation. We somehow think that the universe agrees to our man-made rules of burden of proof. The universe, unfortunately, doesn't offer us an explanation of phenomena. It only offers the phenomena itself. If these phenomena are relevant to us or affect us in a certain way, they become consequences. Since we are liable to experience these consequences, we are also responsible to validate whether these consequences have any substance by ourselves. In other words, we can't simply rely on other people to justify their claims. Instead, we have the responsibility to ensure the accuracy of these claims when they affect us directly. I call this the burden of consequences as opposed to the burden of proof. Let's consider a small society of 10 different individuals, and one of the individuals falsely accuses you of stealing, and the other 8 individuals simply ignore the traditional definition of burden of proof. In such a society, the burden of proof shifts to you because you are at the mercy of those 8 other individuals, because they hold power over you. Hence, the burden of proof is arbitrary at best and enforces itself through the burden of consequences. Legally, we have established repercussions to false claims. Perjury is an offense that leads to imprisonment, and defamation results in settlements that can financially cripple you. But these repercussions are a function of power. They're only established because our judicial institutions hold power over us. Unfortunately, we hold no such power over the consequences that the universe creates for us. Now, because it works so well for us, we've somehow developed the idea that we are entitled to the truth. But philosophically speaking, the universe doesn't really owe us the truth. Our only option is to actively seek and confirm the truth by ourselves, especially when our well-being is at stake. Let's imagine a volcano. There are 3 different people making 3 different claims. A, the volcano will erupt. B, the volcano won't erupt. And C, I don't know whether the volcano would erupt or not. In the event that the volcano does erupt, guess which of the 3 claimants would actually survive? Exactly, none of them. Any of the individuals' inability or ability to justify their claims won't affect the consequences because everyone will face the consequences of the volcano. The universe operates like a jungle that cannot be reasoned with, and that is what makes philosophy a bit more complex. That's why I have so much respect for the scientific method, because it relies on what the philosopher Karl Popper called the principle of falsification. Any claim could be true or false until we have sufficient evidence to reject or accept the claim. But the problem is the sufficiency of evidence itself. We have theories like the Boltzmann brain or the Omphalos hypothesis or the problem of induction that shatter the very notion of sufficient reason. Now, most atheists would argue that the default position would be that God doesn't exist, simply because we don't know whether God exists or not. And I think that's a premature claim. And before you attack me in the comment section, I just want to clarify that I don't think believing in God should be the default position either. My argument is against the notion of the default position itself, because there is no default position, philosophically speaking. Because regardless of my position, I will eventually bear the consequences of whatever the reality is. In a nutshell, that's exactly what God is for me. A representation of eschatological consequences. I'm afraid that God exists. I'm scared that my actions, they matter. I'm afraid that he can test me on rules that he has defined by himself, that do not subscribe to the man-made moralities that we have built for ourselves. And that would be perfectly just, because justice is itself a function of power. We can flaunt our scientific discovery and boast about the feats of human rationality, but the fact remains clear. Consequences follow regardless of our philosophy. Hope you like the short poem. Thank you all for joining me in this exploration of burden of proof and its cosmological implications. As always, if you've enjoyed the video, like, share, and subscribe.